Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. A scheduling note that came out earlier this week that I cannot lie, Torres is not happy about, and it involves John Calipari and his former team, the Kentucky Wildcats. Okay, so listen, you know the story. Calipari leaves last year, and I think we all agree that going into last season, the most anticipated game of the season was John Calipari's return to Kentucky. But at the same time, and you don't got to ask me, all you got to do is generally hop in the chat on this show to know how much anger and vitriol there is between the two fans. By the way, that I'm not mocking anybody. I'm saying that as a good thing. True sports hate doesn't exist like it used to, but it feels like there is a real, true rivalry between Arkansas and Kentucky. And a year ago, we only got one game between Kentucky and Arkansas. And I remember doing this exact same segment a year ago with the exact same complaint. Why is this not a home and home? This is the biggest matchup that the SEC could possibly put together as a home and home. They're only playing once. I was frustrated and I was disappointed. Well, I bring it up because schedules are coming out. We talked about ACC, SEC. By the way, like 2 weeks ago, the ACC put out the opponents for each team and each school. This week, the Big 12 just put out their opponents this week. And I've been told the SEC probably sometime next week will drop their full schedule. But I just bring it up because John Rothstein, yet again, he's all over it. Middle of the summer, John Rothstein doesn't care. He reported on Tuesday afternoon that Arkansas and Kentucky, again, I think the most intriguing game you could possibly have, will only be played once. I'll say this, at least the return game is at Bud Walton Arena as it should be, but this will not be a home and home. They will not play back and forth. As a matter of fact, I'll take it a step further. I think the SEC generally does a pretty good job of giving fans what they want. I think for the second straight year, this is a big whiff. And I said as much on social media on Tuesday when the Rothstein report came out. I said, quote, for a second year in a row, the SEC has botched the best pair of games and series that it could have in basketball. That's Arkansas and Kentucky. But hey, on a positive note, at least we'll get Kentucky Vandy twice and LSU Arkansas twice as well. Worth noting, by the way, SEC office was not happy about it. One of their, somebody in their office, got into the mentions and kind of referenced the fact that, the ratings were at an all-time high last year. He and I went back and forth. Now, he was a total pro about it, probably more of a pro than I was, but not surprising there. We might actually have him on the show when the schedule comes out so he can talk through what goes through the SEC's process. But I still believe this was a colossal mistake. And let's dive into the SEC's blunder here because I think this is a screw-up of epic proportions, okay? So why is it a screw-up? First of all, like I said, this is the baddest of bad blood. Okay, listen, is it going to be the highest-rated game? I don't know. Carolina-Duke is probably going to always be the highest-rated game. But in terms of interesting conversations, I don't think there's a more interesting conversation than a Hall of Fame coach leaving to go to another place. Now, it's even more interesting for two reasons. One, they only played once last year. And as you may or may not remember, Arkansas got the upper hand, right? So if anything, we got to see what that game looked like. And it was awesome. Credit to the folks at Rupp Arena. It was, I think, as intense. Now, I wasn't there, unfortunately. I get to a lot of games, but that was one I could not get to. But it was as intense of a building as I can ever remember in college basketball. And remember all the conversations that happened? Remember, it was the Saturday between the NFC and AFC championship games and the Super Bowl. So there was no football. It was the only thing on that night. And you could just feel the tension in the air. And the buildup was awesome, too. Remember a whole week of, should you boo John Calipari? Should you boo the players? What about this? What about that? Then you go into the game. John Calipari with a team that was 1-6 in SEC play at that time goes in, gets the win. And I think, in my opinion, it changed the entire Arkansas season. They go from, 1-6 to, I think, 9-9. They ended up in SEC play. They end up getting into the NCAA tournament. They end up getting into the Sweet 16. And I think the whole thing changed at Rupp. So you have that. And even in a year where Arkansas wasn't good at that time, it was an awesome game and an awesome atmosphere. And I'm sorry, if I'm the SEC office, I want that atmosphere again, because I guarantee anytime Calipari walks into Rupp, it is going to be intense and it is going to be angry. And here's the other thing. Calipari ain't slowing down. Like, it'd be one thing. And look, I know enough about scheduling to know that a lot of these decisions get made based on who we think is going to be good. Listen, look at the ACC SEC Challenge. They would not have given Arkansas Louisville if they did not think Arkansas was going to be good. They would not have given us Kentucky Carolina if they thought Kentucky was going to suck. So the programmers look at the way too early top 25s, no different than everybody else does. And they sat there and said, you know what? These two teams are going to be really good. Let's give them good matchups in the ACC SEC Challenge. So why wouldn't they give it to us here? Because at the end of the day, it's not like, the projections have Arkansas to finish 13th in a 16-team SEC or Kentucky to finish 7th in a 16-team SEC. These are two teams that I think even the people that are critical of John Calipari think he's got a top 3, top 4 roster in the SEC. This should be the type of game that you get on a Saturday in the SEC tournament in the semifinals, 1 versus 2, 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3. So why not give it to us twice? It makes no sense. And I think there's a couple other variables as well, is that, again, it was an insane atmosphere. It is, by the way, it's a story that everyone can wrap their arms around, okay? And I think that's an important part of this as well. Listen, I love college basketball. I'm talking college basketball in June. There ain't very many people that are doing that right now. But I'm talking college basketball, and I love college basketball. You love college basketball. But I only say this because college basketball does struggle to get eyeballs and to get interest in November, December, January, February. Now, to its credit, again, I think they've done a great job of scheduling games that people want to see, all the games that we talked about: Kentucky, Carolina, Duke, Florida, UConn, BYU, BYU this team, Arizona that. Like, they're giving us good games, Kansas, Carolina. But at the counter to that is you still need things that casual fans can wrap their arms around. And Calipari versus Kentucky is casual, is something that everyone can understand, everyone can appreciate, everybody can enjoy. And so it makes no sense. And then I think beyond that, the other thing that I keep thinking about is that it's great for college basketball. It's a matchup that genuinely creates interest, especially in league play, when you can kind of get lost in the doldrums. It gets people excited. But you know who should be more mad than anybody at the SEC right now? It's the TV partners, right? Because TV partners are looking for games that get people to get eyeballs on TVs. And now listen, I know what people would say. They would say, oh, well, last year Auburn, Alabama was the highest rated game of the SEC season. And basically, you never know until the games are played what's going to rate well, what isn't, whatever, this, that, the other thing. The same time, though, think about how the SEC could position itself in the college basketball space this season. You have the first game at Bud Walton. I don't know, say what? That week between the conference championship games and the Super Bowl in football, when everybody's craving sports in February, late January. Most people are locked up in their house because it's cold as you know what outside. Give the first one that week. And then how about the second one, the return game at Rupp? I don't know, last weekend of the regular season, get everybody fired up for college basketball. Calipari going back into Rupp Arena, maybe with a really good team, maybe with a really bad team. Either way, you're going to be interested. It's going to get you fired up for March. So it makes no sense. And the last thing I would say is, don't tell me you can't make it work, because we found out after the fact that Kentucky is getting Florida twice this year, which is awesome. But the counter to that is, don't give us crappy games. And as I said in that tweet, when Rothstein put out his original tweet, we're going to get Kentucky Vandy twice. Cool. That's great for, the Kentucky fans that live in Nashville or closer to Nashville than they do Rupp Arena. For the rest of us, we don't want to watch Kentucky Vandy twice. I'd rather watch Calipari Kentucky twice. I'd rather watch Arkansas Kentucky twice. By the way, we're going to get 2 more Arkansas LSU games. That was an awesome football game back when Darren McFadden was on Arkansas and LSU had Les Miles. It ain't a basketball game anybody wants to watch. I'm here to tell you that. I don't even think LSU fans want to watch. I think LSU fans will be on tigerbait.com looking at recruiting football rankings, okay? So don't tell listen, I could go on and on. But don't tell me all this nonsense about, we can't do it. You can do it. And you've done it. And you've manipulated schedules to give us intriguing games in literally every sport. You can't give us Arkansas, Kentucky twice. What are we doing, SEC office? What are we doing? Like I said, the hope and the goal is to get an SEC official on the show next week to explain, because I think the full schedule, I'm hoping, would be, I think the whole schedule might be out next week. I don't know about dates, but I do think we'll get opponents, all that good stuff.